Shalom Akim, Wagwathion. First and foremost, before I begin this camp session, I'd like to turn to the east and give all praises to Yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham Makakadash. I'd like to proceed this camp session with giving double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who do it well and teach well, man. You know, hey, call out Yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham Makakadash for another day, another week, you know, to push the truth, man, to come out here to the highways and byways, you know, and push this truth, man. You know, as a lot of brothers and sisters can see, man, you know, hey, there's a lot of stuff happening, man. You know, earthquakes in diverse places. You know, look what happened out there in Venezuela, man. And then Europe just got hit. Europe just got hit with the heat wave, man, killing 1,000 people, man. You know, in Slovakia for the phone, you know, I don't got a tripod right now. You know, got to come out here right now and, hey, got to do what I got to do, man. But, you know, bear with me. Hopefully this camp session is edifying to the hopeful elect. I'd like to give all praise to Yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, bahasham Makakadash. You know, going back into what I was saying, man. You know, hey, judgment is here, man, and it's started, man. You know, let me get this precept in the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 9, verse 1, and it reads, "He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself." You know, hey, this is the Most High talking to, you know, the children of Israel, man, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Hispanics, and Native Americans, which make up the 12 tribes of Israel, man. You know, these other nations go back to, you know, the so-called white race goes back to the so-called Edomites, man. You know, every nation on earth has a biblical nationality, man. You know, the Indians go back to the so-called Elamites. I mean, no, it's like the so-called Indians go back to the Elamites. You know, the so-called Arabs, you know, they go back to the Ishmaelites, man. You know, every race on earth has its own nationality, man. You know, the so-called Chinese, you know, they are the house of Moab, man. You know, the so-called Japanese, they go to the Ammonites, man. You know, but nonetheless, before I get off topic, man, you know, and we're measuring the time diligently, man, in itself. And why is that? Because Yahawah, bahasham, yahawashi, you know, he told us, the watchmen, man. You know, and the watchmen is the prophets that are, you know, setting watch on that tower, man. You know, back then, you know, this was back then, man, you know, in the ancient days, you know, they would sit on towers, man, and watch, you know, watch for enemies to come in on the towers, man, and the castles, man. But now we do it by ways of the unicorn, man. You know, and the unicorn is the internet, man. You know, because this truth is being pushed through all four corners of the earth, man. And what are we supposed to be doing, man? You know, before I get that, Salaki, man. You know, I got to use my scriptures right now, man. You know, using my phone, you know, to record right now, but let me get this one real quick. All right, so the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33. All right, I'm going to start at verse 1. It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33, verse 1, and it reads, "Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people." You know, and in this precept, the Son of Man is going to is talking about the Israelites, man. You know, it's not talking about the other people on earth, man. It's talking about the Israelites pertaining to the 12 tribes of Israel, man. Verse 1, Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 1, and it reads, "Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman," you know, and this is the point right here, man. "If when he seeth," Salakia, verse 3, "if when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people." And this is what we're doing, man. You know, we're telling you what's coming, man. You know, and the Lord's showing y'all what's going on, man. You know, starting with judgment out there in Venezuela, man. You know, these heat waves coming in big numbers, man. You know, there's a lake out here that just got hit with, you know, there's a lake out here that all the fish in that motherfucker died, man. The San Carlos Lake in Arizona, man. The Lord is bringing judgment, man. Slakia. All right. Verse 4, and it reads, then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. Verse 5, he heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning, his blood shall be upon him, but he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul.